Good afternoon to you if you've just joined us here on Today, eNCA, DSTV Channel 43, with me, Dan Moyane. Now, the murder trial of football star Senzo Meyiwa continues in the High Court in Pretoria. Meyiwa's friend, Slindelo Madlala, is testifying today for a third day. They've just adjourned a short while ago to resume tomorrow. Now, earlier he identified accused number 2 as one of the intruders on the night Meyiwa was killed 8 years ago. I think we should say one of the alleged intruders. Our reporter Slindelo Masikane has been following the court proceedings and is joining us now live from outside court. Good afternoon, Slindelo. Thanks for being with us here on Today. Well, the court has just adjourned its day's proceedings to resume tomorrow. And Mr. Madlala still on the stand, being cross-examined earlier by T.T. Tobane. What are the highlights?
Some big moments that took place today in terms of the testimony of Slindelo Madlala. It's day 3 officially of him being in the witness box, and of course we're getting more and more details around what happened on the 26th of October 2014. Madlala is one of 7 people who was in the house during the shooting incident, and this morning an explosive moment being of course when Madlala pointed out accused number 2 Bongani Ntanzi as one of the intruders, he says, that came into the home before Meyiwa was shot and killed. Let's just take a listen to that moment.
Mr. Madlala, if you can perhaps state or inform the court who is this person that made you uncomfortable.
Uyacela nje ukuthi mfethu ke uye nje odabeni ke ukuthi utshele nje inkantolo ukuthi ubani umuntu lona owakwenza ukuthi awunyanye. Yes, this man with the blue t-shirt or green.
He's the one that was held
by Senzo. Sorry?
He's
the one who had the cut beard that was cut or shaved.
So that was that moment when Slindelo Madlala then pointed out Bongani Ntanzi, who we understand is actually due for an urgent bail application next week Thursday. But let's just unpack today's proceedings with legal expert, that is Mr. Alton Hart from the UJ Law Clinic. Thank you so much once more for your time this afternoon. Maybe let's begin with that doc identification that took place this morning, where Slindelo Madlala pointed at accused number 2 as being one of the intruders that had allegedly been pinned against the wall by Senzo Meyiwa before a gunshot went off. Just how much weight will the courts then be able to put on this doc identification before a verdict is handed down?
If one looks at it, doc identification should not necessarily or should not carry a lot of weight, because it's only 5 people that's in that doc. And if you are asked to do identification in the doc, you'll obviously not go into the people that's sitting in the courtroom, but you'll go to the doc. So that, for me, should not carry a lot of weight. And if I look at the testimony of Slindelo Madlala, he said the short one had a gun. Now, the accused with the green t-shirt that he referred to is taller than, I think, the person that's standing next to him. So if he's saying short, then that person to me looks like is not so short. So there's a lot of discrepancies in his testimony. And also, he testified when he was led in examination in chief. He testified about the match between Chelsea and Man United, and it was dark. It was only the TV that made light in the room. Now, if you go back in 2014, and the reason why I know this is because I watch a lot of football. That game, the kickoff time for that game was 4 o'clock the afternoon. Chelsea versus, so, and it's summertime, so it's like deep in summer. It's light by 6 o'clock when the game is finished. And he said this incident happened in between when the game was busy on the television. So for me already, there's a lot of things that I think should be taken up by this witness, but he has already contradicted himself, even by testifying when did he phone Sifiso, those type of things. It's, if he's being probed more, he's going to crack.
We are starting to see some of those loopholes and contradictions in his testimony. We are in the middle of cross-examination, Mr. Hart, of Titi Tobana for accused 1 to 4. And he's made reference to the fact that Tumelo Madlala was paid in that Netflix documentary. His trip to Johannesburg on the day in question was also sponsored. What I was picking up is that it seems as though they're trying to paint Madlala as somebody who could do anything for money. Am I correct or wrong in this?
What I think Titi Tobani is trying to point out is that Tumelo Madlala will adjust this evidence to suit the narrative that Titi Tobani say is being portrayed to the public by whoever orchestrated this whole incident or whoever was involved in this incident. And I think by saying that he was paid and he went to go give a certain narrative that was asked by the producers, then also he asked him also a question as to when did he arrive in Joburg, and he put then a question to him to say that, listen, you've been here since last week Thursday. Why did the state tell us you only arrived on Monday? Also trying to bring that together to say that you will say anything or you'll dance to the tune of your master as long as the pay is right. And I think if that is the case, then he can later on argue to say, listen, if this man is given what he wants that will make his life easy, he will then testify whatever is needed of him. And that is what I think Titi Tobani is driving towards. And I think he must just relax a little bit and let the witness answer. And because sometimes I think he's also getting a little bit hot under the collar because the way the witness, as I can see, is evasive, and the judge is allowing him to pull the shenanigans because he's not answering the questions, and then he's giving answers to different sets of questions. And the judge should step in here and say to him, sir, if you are asked a question, don't return it with a question. Just say yes, no. If you don't know, say you don't know. And the attorney will then needs to know what he needs to do next. And I think there the judge needs to also just tell or warn this witness not to do so. But I think Madlala is very evasive of what happened on that night.
Maybe then just lastly and quickly, Mr. Alton Hart, do you foresee the state having to actually call someone else in the house to be able to corroborate Madlala's story?
They will have to call somebody else in the house to come and corroborate, because I think if we see this already, Titi Tobani is going after Madlala already hard. He must still go through cross-examination by Mshololo as well. So maybe his story will change again, because already we can see two versions of his stories already rearing its head. So they will be required to call another person. And the mere fact that Longwetwala was already out of the house, so it means that one of the three Kumalos that was in the house will at some stage needs to be called, unless they also going to call that Mtokozizi. I think Mtokozizi was the other one that was in the house. So if they also, or they might call him, but one of these Kumalos will come and testify or will have to come and corroborate what has happened. And even so, if one just looks at, he said when the gunshot went off, his ears was closed. He said something about his enclebers was closed. So how did he even manage in the house to even call Sifiso and hear what Sifiso was asking him and having a conversation with Sifiso? So that type of things are picked up, and I think they should be probed more with this witness specifically.
Quickly, Mr. Hart, the success of accused number 2's bail application next week, what are the chances that he could be granted bail?
Obviously, it's a 50-50 chance. One needs to look at, does he have pending cases for which he's in custody, or does he have a pending case for which he has bail? If he has bail and it's not related to this, but I mean, most of the incidents or most of crimes can sort of be related to these serious offenses, but one needs to check and see what is, if he has got a pending case. If he doesn't have a pending case and this is the only case, then I mean, I've seen a lot of people standing trial for murder that gets bail. So I won't see any difficulty, but it's always a 50-50 chance. And one needs to look at what is the evidence that he's going to present about his personal circumstances to say he should be on bail or not.
I think that's all we have time for this afternoon. Thank you so much, Mr. Alton Hart from the UJ Law Clinic, unpacking day 3 of Dumelo Madlala's testimony. Of course, we are now in the middle of cross-examination, which will resume tomorrow at 10 a.m. It's back to you, Bradan.
Okay, thank you very much, Slindelo Masikane, outside court there. That's the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria. As she said, the Meyiwa Murder Trial will resume tomorrow with one of his friends. Mr. Madlala was in the house at the time in 2014, October 2014, when the soccer star, Orlando Pirates, and Bafana Bafana goalkeeper and captain Meyiwa was shot dead.